Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel Legal Decipher. In the previous video, we had discussed about chapter 29 of the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. If you have not seen that video, you can go and check it. The link is in the description below. Today, we are going to discuss about chapter 30 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. We'll go through the chapter and try to understand how the Criminal Procedure Code is followed and how the criminal codes work. So if you are new here, please like and subscribe to my channel to get the video notifications. So let's get started. So today we are going to discuss about chapter 30, which talks about reference and revision. So section 395 talks about reference to High Court. It says where any court is satisfied that first of all a case is pending before it. Okay, now that case involves a question as to the validity of any act, ordinance or regulation, or of any provision contained in such act, ordinance or regulation, the determination or the explanation of which is whether valid or not. That is a necessary question to be disposed of in that case. So, where any provision of any act, ordinance or regulation, or the entire act, ordinance or regulation is in question as to whether it is legally valid or not, and it is necessary for that question to be resolved before the disposal of the case, or if they are of the opinion that it has not been declared by the High Court yet, but it is invalid or inoperative. So the lower courts cannot declare an act, ordinance or regulation to be invalid or inoperative. However, they can appear such before those courts, but they will not decide on that fact or matter. They will refer it to the High Court and request the High Court to pass an opinion as to whether such act, ordinance or regulation or any provision in them is invalid or inoperative or not. And the court will decide in that case regarding the validity of the said provision or act with reasons. So whenever an act, ordinance or regulation is questioned on the basis of its validity, then the same will be decided by the High Court, and it will be decided by the High Court as to whether such act, ordinance or provision of such regulation, act or ordinance is valid or not. And in this way the same will be referred to for the decision of the High Court. Now the explanation says that in this section, regulation means any regulation as defined in the General Clauses Act 1897 or the General Clauses Act of a state. Now subsection 2 says that if a court of sessions or a metropolitan magistrate thinks fit that there is a case pending before to which the provisions of subsection 1 do not apply. So where a case is pending before it to which the provisions of the subsection 1 do not apply, in that case he may refer the case to the High Court for a decision on the question of law arising in the hearing of such case. So in this case also he will refer it to the High Court as to decide on that question of law that is arising in the hearing of such case. Now any court making a reference to the High Court under subsection 1 or subsection 2 may during the pendency of that case so refer to the High Court either commit the accused to jail or release him on bail to appear when called upon. So it will be the power of that court to commit the accused to jail or release him on bail during the pendency of that case before the High Court, if it is sent to the High Court for the decision on such challenged law point. Now let's move on to the next section, that is section 396, which talks about disposal of case according to decision of High Court. So when a question has been so referred that we have read in the foregoing section, the High Court shall pass such order thereon as it thinks fit. So it is the discretionary power of the High Court to pass any such order that it thinks fit, and shall cause a copy of such order to be sent to the court by which the reference was made. So after making such order, the High Court will send a copy of such order that he has passed to the court from which that reference was made, and such case shall be disposed of by the decision of the said order. So whatever the High Court has said in the order will be binding and final upon that court from which the reference was made. Subsection 2 says the High Court may direct by whom the costs of such reference shall be paid. So it will be directed by the High Court that whether the reference cost will be paid by someone else or not. Now section 397 talks about calling of records to exercise powers of revision. It says that the High Court or any sessions judge may call for and examine the record of any proceeding before any inferior criminal court situated within its or his local jurisdiction for the purpose of satisfying itself or himself to the correctness, legality or propriety of any finding, sentence or order recorded or passed, and as to the regularity of any proceedings of such inferior court. So the High Court can call for the lower court record from where the situation arose, and he may also satisfy himself as to the correctness, legality or propriety of any finding, sentence or order that was recorded or passed, and as to the regularity of any proceedings of such inferior court. And the High Court or the Sessions Court may also, when calling for such a record, direct that the execution of any sentence or order be suspended, and if the accused is in confinement, that he be released on bail or on his own bond pending the examination of the record. So the High Court may also stay the execution and suspend the order of any sentence, and may also release the accused on bail until such reference that was made by the lower court has been disposed of by the High Court. Now the explanation says that all magistrates, whether executive or judicial, and whether exercising original or appellate jurisdiction, shall be deemed to be inferior to the sessions judge for the purposes of this subsection and of section 398. So all these courts will be deemed to be the inferior courts to the sessions judges for the purposes of this subsection and the section 398. Now subsection 2 says that the power of revision conferred by subsection 1 shall not be exercised in relation to any interlocutory order passed in any appeal, inquiry, trial or other proceedings. So these powers will not be used in interlocutory orders, in any appeal, inquiry, trial or other proceedings. Subsection 3, it says that if an application under this section has been made by any person either to the High Court or to the sessions judge, then no further application by the same person shall be entertained by the other of them. So once an application under this section has been made by any person either to the High Court or to the sessions judge, then no further application by the same or any other person shall be entertained regarding that matter. Now section 398 talks about power to order enquiry. On examining any record under section 397 or otherwise, the High Court or the sessions judge may direct the Chief Judicial Magistrate by himself or by any of the magistrates subordinate to him to make, and the Chief Judicial Magistrate may himself make or direct any subordinate magistrate to make further inquiry into any complaint which has been dismissed under section 203 or subsection 4 of section 204, or to the case of any person accused of an offence who has been discharged. So let's understand this section. It says that the High Court has the power to direct further inquiry, and he will, if he feels necessary that a further inquiry is needed in this case, he will direct the CJM or any other magistrate subordinate to the CJM through the CJM as to any complaint which has been dismissed under section 203 or subsection 4 of section 204, or to any case relating to any person who is accused of an offence and that accused has been discharged in that case. So in all these cases, whether the case falls under section 203 or it falls under section 204 subsection 4, or it is regarding any person who was accused of an offence and is presently discharged, the High Court may, if it thinks fit, in all these cases direct a further inquiry regarding any such complaint falling under these provisions. Direct for such further inquiry to the CJM or to any other magistrate who is subordinate to that CJM through that CJM. Now, provided that no court shall make any direction under this section for inquiry into the case of any person who has been discharged unless such person has had an opportunity of show cause why such direction should not be made. So, such order against such accused person who was discharged won't be made without giving such a discharged person an opportunity to show cause. So he will be first provided an opportunity to show cause, and then only a further inquiry will be initiated against such discharged person. Now let's move on to section 399 that talks about sessions judge's power of revision. So in the case of any proceedings the record of which has been called for by himself, the sessions judge may exercise all or any of the powers which may be exercised by the High Court under subsection 1 of the section 401. So this provision basically invests the powers of a High Court regarding revision upon the sessions judge. It says that the sessions judge will have the same powers as the High Court while deciding a revision case. Now, where the proceedings by way of revision is commenced before a sessions judge under subsection 1, the provisions of subsection 2, 3, 4 and 5 of section 401 shall so far as may be applied to such proceedings, and references in the said subsection to the High Court shall be construed as references to the sessions judge. So it basically says that if a sessions judge commences a revision under subsection 1, then he shall have all the powers of subsection 2, 3, 4 and 5 of section 401. Now subsection 3 says that where any application for revision is made by or on behalf of any person before the sessions judge, the decision of the sessions judge thereon in relation to such person shall be final, and no further proceedings by way of revision at the instance of such person shall be entertained by the High Court or any other court. So once that person who is aggrieved by the order of the lower court has applied for a revision before the sessions judge, then the sessions judge will be passing a final order upon it. So after passing an order by the sessions judge, there will be no further proceedings that will be entertained by the High Court or any other court. So no further proceedings will be entertained by any other court. Once the sessions judge has decided that revision, that is final upon it. Now section 400 talks about power of additional sessions judge. It says that an additional sessions judge shall have and may exercise all the powers of a sessions judge under this chapter in respect of any case which may be transferred to him by or under any general or special order of the sessions judge. So it says that the powers of the sessions judge will also be vested in additional sessions judge as well. Now section 401 talks about High Court's powers of revision. It says that in any case or any proceeding, the record of which has been called for by itself or which otherwise comes to the knowledge of the High Court, the High Court may in its discretion in such case exercise any of the powers that are conferred by a court of appeal by section 386, 389, 390 and 391, or on a court of sessions by section 307. And when the judges composing the court of revision are equally divided in opinion, the case shall be disposed of in the manner provided by section 392. So it basically says that the High Court shall have the power of revision, and once it has called for any proceedings, the record of which has been called for by it, or it otherwise came to the knowledge of the High Court, then in that case the High Court has the discretion to exercise any of the powers that is conferred to a court of appeal under these sections, that is 386, 389, 390 and 391, or to a court of sessions by section 307. So these powers will also be conferred upon the High Court as a court of appeal, because in that point of time the High Court will be acting as a court of appeal. So all these powers of these provisions will be vested on him. And when the judges that are composing the court of revision are equally divided in opinion, say for example the bench was consisting of two judges and both of them had their different opinions, so it is like a draw or a tie between that opinions. So in that case where it is equally divided in opinion, then the case shall be disposed in the same manner as it is provided by section 392. So that manner will be followed to dispose of this particular case where the opinions are equally divided, and no order under this section shall be made to be prejudice of the accused or other person unless he has had an opportunity of being heard either personally or by pleader in his own defense. So no order under this section will be made to prejudice an accused or other person, and that person will first be given an opportunity of being heard either personally or by his pleader in his own defense, and then only an order under this section will be passed. Now nothing in this section shall be deemed to authorize a High Court to convert a finding of acquittal into one conviction. So in this section the High Court shall not have the authority to convert a acquittal into a conviction. So the findings of an acquittal will not be converted to a conviction by the High Court under this section. And where under this code an appeal lies and no appeal is brought, no proceeding by way of revision shall be entertained at the instance of the party who could have appealed. So whether a provision of appeal lies from the case that has been preferred before this court as a revision or by way of revision. So let's understand this, that whether a case is preferred before the court as a revision. So an order has been passed in the lower court and the party who is aggrieved has preferred for a revision, but the provisions regarding that case are such that an appeal lies from it. So where an appeal lies from a case, then revision cannot be sought and that revision will not be entertained. That person will have to go through that appeal procedure. Now where under this code an appeal lies but an application for revision has been made to the High Court by any person and the High Court is satisfied that such application was made under the erroneous belief that no appeal lies thereto and that it is necessary in the interest of justice so to do, the High Court may treat the application for revision as a petition of appeal and deal with the same accordingly. So subsection 5 is a getaway procedure, that when a person has committed an error, so his intentions were okay, he was aggrieved with the order of the lower court and now he has preferred a revision against it. So if the court is of the view that there is a provision of appeal that lies from that aggrieved order and this person has erroneously made a revision before it, so that person will be excused if there are necessity to do so, that such person was under an erroneous belief that no appeal lies thereto, or the court finds that it is in the interest of justice to do so, then the High Court may treat such application of revision as a petition of appeal. So it will convert the petition of revision into a petition of appeal and deal with it accordingly. Now let's move on to section 402 that talks about power of High Court to withdraw or transfer revision cases. So whenever one or more persons convicted at the same trial makes or make application to a High Court for revision and any other person convicted at the same trial makes an application to the sessions judge for revision, the High Court shall decide having regard to the general convenience of the parties and the importance of the questions involved, which of the two courts should finally dispose of the applications for revision, and when the High Court decides that all the applications for revision should be disposed by itself, the High Court shall direct that the applications for revisions pending before the sessions judge be transferred to itself, and where the High Court decides that it is not necessary for it to dispose of the applications for revision, it shall direct that the applications for revision made to it be transferred to the sessions judge. So let's understand this section. It says that where two or more persons file two separate revisions, one before the High Court and the other before the Sessions Court. So in this case, the High Court is the concerned court who will determine on the basis of the importance of the question that is related to such revision, that means the gravity of the case, and the convenience of the parties, as to what will be more convenient to the parties, to move before the High Court or to move before the Sessions Judge Court. And then the High Court will decide as to which court will deal with these revisions. And if the High Court decides that those revisions will be dealt by the High Court, then the revision that was filed before the Sessions Court will also be transferred to the High Court. And if the High Court decides that both the revisions will be tried by the Sessions Court, then the revision that was filed before the High Court will be, by order of the High Court, transferred to the Sessions Court, and the Sessions Court will try both those revisions jointly. So that will be the procedure. This is the power of the High Court to determine whether to take up all these revisions and try them, or to delegate it to the Sessions Judge that is concerned. Now, subsection 2 says that whenever any application for revision is transferred to the High Court, that court shall deal with the same as if it were an application duly made before itself. So, any transferred revision will be dealt in the same procedure as if the application for revision was made to the High Court directly. Now, whenever any application for revision is transferred to the Sessions Judge, the judge shall deal with the same as if it were an application duly made before himself. So whenever a revision is transferred to the Sessions Judge, then he will also be dealing with it as if the application was duly made to him on the first instance. Now, where an application for revision is transferred by the High Court to the Sessions Judge, then no further application for revision shall lie to the High Court or to any other court at the instance of the person or persons whose applications for revisions have been disposed of by the Sessions Judge. So once the High Court has transferred those revisions to the Sessions Court, then no further revision application will be entertained by the High Court or any other court. The Sessions Judge will be the one and only court that will be deciding that matter. Now let's move on to section 403 that talks about option of court to hear parties. It says, save as otherwise expressly provided by this code, no party has any right to be heard either personally or by pleader before any court exercising its power of revision. But the court may, if it thinks fit when exercising such powers, hear any party either personally or by pleader. So it is not the power of the parties to plead before the court in a revision hearing. Rather, it is the discretion of the court as to whether such person will be heard by the court or not. Now, section 404 says that statements by Metropolitan Magistrate of grounds of his decision to be considered by High Court. So, it says that when the record of any trial held by a Metropolitan Magistrate is called for by the High Court or Court of Sessions under section 397, the magistrate may submit with the record a statement setting forth the grounds of his decision or order and any facts which he thinks material to the issue, and that court shall consider such statement before overruling or setting aside the said decision or order. So, this section basically says that when the decision of the Metropolitan Magistrate is challenged before a court of sessions or a High Court, then the Metropolitan Magistrate may send a statement along with the record. So when the record is called for from that Metropolitan Magistrate, such magistrate will also send a statement along with the record. And what will that statement contain? It shall contain the grounds of his decision or order and any facts which he thinks material to the issue. So he will jot down all the grounds, that these are the grounds for which I arrived to this decision, or any fact which that magistrate thinks fit that it is material to the issue. He will contain those grounds in that statement, and the court entertaining the revision application shall consider such statement before overruling it or setting aside the said decision or order. When such statement is made by the metropolitan magistrate, then the court of sessions or the high court will, before overruling it or setting aside it, it will consider such statement. Now section 405, which is the last section of this chapter, talks about high court's order to be certified to lower court. It says when a case is revised under this chapter by the high court or a sessions judge, it or he shall in the manner provided by section 388 certify its decision or order to the court by which the finding, sentence or order revised was recorded or passed, and the court to which the decision or order is so certified shall thereupon make such order as are conformable to the decision so certified, and if necessary the record shall be amended in accordance therewith. So this section says that the order of revision will be sent to the lower court, and such court will record the amendments to the order passed by him in accordance to the decision that was passed by the superior court, and to do so the provisions of section 388 shall be applied in this manner.
So that's all in this video. If you like my videos, then don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching this video.